how to maintain the budget and general ledger, and also review the powerful inquiry capabilities of the system. Let's take a look at account setup and inquiry.
To create new accounts, you must open the Accounts window. This is found in the GL Account section of the GL. The Accounts window allows you to define new accounts and edit existing accounts. To create a new account, type in the account number in the account field and enter a description for the account. On the detail page, you must define a structure code. Remember that this account structure will verify that the account number matches the correct order and that each segment exists in the segment code setup. If you enter a GL account with an incorrect segment value, you will receive an error when you add the account. The normal balance field indicates the typical balance of the account. There are 3 account types available: income statement, retained earnings, and balance sheet types. For income statement accounts, this is where you can define which retained earnings account this account will close out to. You can close out to the default retained earnings account defined in GL options, or you can close out to the retained earnings account defined in a particular segment, if that segment was marked to be used in closing. Balance sheet and retained earnings accounts do not have the Close To section at the bottom of the window. In the Account Group field, you can specify the account group. The status fields indicate whether the GL account is active or inactive. You cannot post transactions in the GL to accounts that are flagged as inactive. The Post to Accounts fields indicate whether transactions will be posted to this account in detail or consolidated. If posting in detail, all transaction details are available to be viewed. If posting consolidated, transaction details are consolidated on posting so that all debits and credits are netted out to a single amount. If transactions are posted in detail, they can be consolidated at a later time using a separate function in GL periodic processing. The Control Account function allows you to associate this account with a subledger so that only transactions from the specific subledger can be posted to that account. For example, your accounts receivable account would have transactions flowing into it from AR. You wouldn't want someone making manual journal entries to this account, as it would cause the account to be unbalanced to the subledger. To restrict the account so that only AR transactions can be posted to this account, you would make it a control account and link it to AR. Note that after you select this option, a subledger page appears. This is where you specify which subledgers will be able to post entries to this account. In the grid, click on the Finder to access a list of source codes. Remember that the first 2 characters of a source code indicate the module in which the transaction originated. Also remember that every transaction in the GL is entered with a source code. The source code determines the originating module, and so the control account function will restrict transactions being posted to this account to only those with the first 2 characters of the source code as indicated here. The auto allocation function allows balances in this account to be reallocated to other GL accounts. For example, you incur rent expenses that you would like to distribute out to various departments. When entering the rent expense, you can choose to enter it to a single rent expense account and then set that account to automatically reallocate the balance to the departmental rent expense accounts. Note that when auto allocation is selected, an allocation page appears. This page is where you define the GL accounts in which you will reallocate this account balance. You must select a source code so that the journal entries that are automatically generated will use this source code. You can also select to reallocate account balances and quantities. You specify accounts in the grid and can assign a reference and description for the entry. Balances and quantities are reallocated by percent. The total percent at the bottom of the window must equal 100. When you are ready to reallocate this account balance, you use the reallocation function in GL periodic processing. The multi-currency option is available if this function is enabled in GL options. If selected, It allows transactions to be posted to this account in currencies other than the functional currency. Note that when selected, the multi-currency option creates a currency page. On this page, you specify which currencies can post transactions to this account. You enter a default currency for the account, or choose specific source currencies in the grid. Or, you can select to accept all currencies. Remember that once multi-currency is selected and the account is saved, it cannot be deselected. The Maintain Quantities option is available if this function is enabled in GL Options. If selected, it will open a Units field next to it. In this field, you can enter the name of the units that you are tracking on this account. Once quantities are posted to this account, this cannot be deselected. To review, we have entered the account number and description, a structure code that matches the account number entered, the normal balance, account type, account group, and verified the settings for status, post to account, control account, auto allocation, multi-currency, and maintain quantities. In terms of optional fields, it should be noted that with GL accounts there are two types of optional fields. The Optional Fields page defines optional fields for the account information only. This would be information that you need to keep for the account but do not have a field, such as a reporting ID or an account class code. The Transaction Optional Fields page defines optional fields that can be entered on transactions, either in the GL or in subledgers, that this account accepts and stores with the transaction on posting. For example, let's say we want to track the specific dues paid out on this subscription and dues expense account. We can specify a transaction optional field named dues and enter information about the dues when entering expense transactions. Both of these optional field types are available for printing on financial statements. At the bottom of the Accounts window is the Add and Delete button. You can only delete accounts that are inactive and that do not have a balance or transaction history.